All right, everybody. We are at the comforts of Krautfather's place, and we got a Kings and Kaisers game going, and we actually started playing last night. Took a break at the top of round 5, and we're picking it up to rest of it up today. So it's pretty cool. I got Krautfather right here, Hammer Time, the Madman himself. We got Mueller Time over there, and of course myself, Moose Cow. So Madman and myself are playing as the Allied powers, and the rest of the guys are playing as the Central powers. And well, Hammer Time is playing as Germany, and kind of stumbling his way through it with a disaster on the Western Front. I'm not going to mince words. A bit of a disaster in the Western Front for them. He got diced in a major battle.
Epic disaster.
Epic disaster, a couple rounds ago. No fault of his own. It's his first time playing. Let's see. Then Mueller Time is playing as the Ottoman Empire, and Krautfather is Austria-Hungary. Madman is France, the United States, who are not at war yet, and the mighty Russian Empire. He is just going into, what is that again?
Silesia?
Silesia, yeah, Silesia, right there. And let's see, what else? Yeah, he's France. I am the British Empire, Empire of Japan, and the Kingdom of Italy. So, as you can see, it's not looking great for the Central Powers, but technically, they are actually technically winning the game with the victory points that they have right now, at least currently. And we're only on top of round 5. Allied powers have the Africa point, the favorable trade point, and the Russian Revolution point because they prevented the revolution from happening, whereas the Central Powers currently have the Western Front point, China, the Pacific colonies, they have Belgrade, and they have the Balkans point right now. They only have 2 minor cities, so they don't have any of the minor city related points. And yeah, the Chinese National Protection War kicked off, only 2 rounds of that. And as you can see, it is a completely different game from our last YouTube war. Central Power sided China dominated this game. They did not get diced in the attack, in the initial attack from Empire of China. I actually did the exact same thing I did last time, and yeah, this is the end result of that. And even though Russia's doing over here, Japan has to, because of Japan only recently took out the German Pacific cruisers, except for this one. So Japan can focus on China to help out, but if China's attacked, China becomes a beast. So that might not be for a while. We'll see. What else? Germany's still down here contesting Papua, British territory of Papua, and they have these 2. Bismarck Archipelago, German Samoa, Marshall Islands, and Palau Islands currently. That's it over there. This is what the United States looks like. He's got a full 20 or 21 units here in Southwest US. We're using my pieces, so we're playing with all the expansion pieces, which is fun. So we do have trucks involved in this game. Hammer Time bought a railway gun as Germany, so it's cool to have one of those in play. In terms of techs, we have field technologies. We have a lot of elites on the board, and yeah, we have a lot of elites, fair amount of poison gas. Not a ton of machine guns have been received as tech this turn, I don't think, if I'm recalling correctly. And let's see. No, there's a fair amount of poison gas. Britain has poison gas. Germany has 2 poison gases. So we got 3 poison gas on the board, unless I'm missing another. I think that's it. Yeah, and then Austria has an elite too. So that's been pretty cool. Japan has an elite too down here. Yeah, Japan has an elite. Has 1 elite there in the British Solomon Islands. And yeah, that about sums it up right there. I'm trying to think of what else to say. Yeah, It is, yeah, started round 5. Austria's going to kick things off. Austria and Italy have been duking it out back and forth. We'll see how that pans out. They have to deal with a big stack of Russia right here, and there's also a stack of Russia with contested there as well. So all this Austrian stuff is going to have to decide where it wants to go. UK has a sizable, not UK, British Empire has a sizable amount of stuff in the Caucasus. With this being the extent of this theater over here. And then recently the Ottomans just went down into Egypt and contested it. So that's fun. They got a fighter. And what's that, 6, 7, 8 infantry right there and some artillery. Yeah, so fun stuff. Germany in Africa, it just looks like this right now. And we got some Italians and French Equatorial. Yeah, that's basically the extent here. The German, one thing that Hammer Time did do really well was that he tied up with the German Pacific Navy, tied up this stuff down here on Australia. So the British sea units that start there just got the heck out of the Pacific. Came this way, just went gradually from one bottom side of the board to the other over here. They've almost gone across the whole bottom of the board. So yeah, fun stuff. Anyway, let's see, that about summarizes it all, I think. So probably do another recap at the end of the game and our conclusion when we see what happens. But yeah, good times had by all. So stay tuned for an update. All right, and during round 6, America's turn, the end of round 6 before China, we decided to call it because the Central Powers were clearly going to lose the game. No fault of them. There was you know, kind of have to stumble your way through it, learning the first time a little bit. We did start cleaning off the board a little bit, so this is not completely accurate as to how it ended up looking. As you see, we already swept up China and stuff like that. Central Powers had China. They just took Cairo, but look at this massive British force that's on its way. So the Allies firmly have the Black Sea point, and they're going to be taking Mesopotamia probably within 2 rounds. And they got a bunch of tanks on the way, so they're just gonna steamroll them. We started repositioning the to the default setup because we're going to play a second game actually. This is the big standoff over here, and then it was just once that disaster happened on the Western Front, Allies just kept feeding, tying them up here. We've had a bunch of conflicts on the Eastern Front, but the Germans just can't crack through Madman's Russian horde. Also note a Russian tank has been built and put on the board. Actually, 2 Russian tanks. It's a glorious sight to see. But yeah, coming down here, Britain built a bomber, started bringing some stuff into there, into Mesopotamia. Britain has 4 tanks on the way, like I said. Started to build up over, build transports to get the Anzac units going again. And Japan started clearing up in the Pacific. Not started to, but started to wrap up Pacific colonies. Again, we started taking some stuff off the board already, but Germany only had Bismarck Archipelago, Papua, they were contesting Papua and still had New Guinea, and I think that was it. The U.S. had just come to war previously and aligned Portugal to Britain and knocked out Trinidad and had started coming into the Med. Tit for tat over here. Austria pulled out of Albania, which freed up the Italian units that were there to spread out. So currently, right now, the victory points that we have it as it is now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had just lost the Balkans. Oh no, sorry, 5. Take that back, because he pulled out of the Balkans, he didn't build in Belgrade, and by basically kind of a simple oversight on their part, they lost the Balkans. They'll probably be able to reclaim them, and they just barely had the Suez for a moment, then lost it because Italy came in and landed in Palestine. because it was open. Allies currently have minor cities, 3 minor cities. Central Powers currently have 3 minor cities. But anyway, just the writing is basically the writing is on the wall. There's just no way that the Central Powers are going to overtake the Allies. It's just not going to happen. So we have called it at round 6, Allied victory between Madman and myself as the Allied powers, and Hammer Time, Mueller Time, and Krautfather as the Central Powers. So we may do a rematch and switch sides, but we'll see. Anyway, take care. Stay tuned for more. All right, YouTube, we're at Krautfather's place, and we just played another Kings and Kaisers game. And I meant to record another video early on as we started it, but we hit the ground running with this one after calling the previous one. We swapped roles. Madman and myself were the Central Powers, and Hammer Time and Mueller Time and Krautfather himself were the Allied powers, and they did a number on us. It is towards the end of round 6, and we have decided to just call it. We kind of went into this one with a little bit of an incohesive plan, or not incohesive, but not a fully fleshed out plan, and certain things immediately just didn't work in our favor with in regards to certain aspects. Mueller Time played Russia and did an amazing job doom stacking it into a beast, and just made fighting and making progress into Russia extremely difficult. And we didn't actually, it is round 6, and the Russian Civil, is it round 6? Round 6, or was it round 5? Yeah, round 6, and the Russian Civil War still has not kicked off, partially from an oversight. It should have happened this round, but it didn't, and we forgot that there were Russians down here in Persia, and they came up and walked into Caucasus and snatched that last one away from us, and part of that is just because we're tired. But anyway, the Russian Civil War didn't actually happen, but I laid pieces out prematurely to save some time, and so that we could kind of also discuss the theoretical fate of Russia, with how things would pan out and stuff like that. I did not set up the whites because the whites, because and those aren't in the official actual 100% places. They're kind of off to the side. I didn't set up the whites because the empire is obviously still Empire of Russia is still in play, and did a hell of a job contesting Poland and eastern Ukraine over there, and that bogged us down a lot. Germany, I was playing as Germany, and I initially pushed into France a little bit, and then we pulled back, and we basically been playing this tit for tat standoff here with on the last few battles. Doing some skirmishes in Alsace, but that basically has happened. Britain did not get on the mainland for a long time. I sent a bunch of subs into the Atlantic early on and got a lot from the subnational objective that way. We tied up the Allies in Africa for a bit for the first few rounds, and then they quickly dominated much of it. But I got extremely lucky with tech on their first round, so this trench works has prevented the Allies from taking Germany, East Africa, and this has been a thorn in their spine. I took the cruisers from the Pacific, and we went down here, the 4 German cruisers and an Austrian cruiser collectively going down here, and the cruiser from here going this way, knocking out the French cruiser that was there, and caused so much damage. We were laughing about how much it came down to. Eventually went from 4 German cruisers to 2 German cruisers, and then those 2 German cruisers convoyed forever and took out other ships. And then finally, the last cruiser killed a few units down here in C-Zone 38 before finally getting sunk. And together, what was it they killed? Like 12?
11 ships.
11 ships they killed. A dreadnought, cruisers, transports, subs, you name it, and also the convoys. And they just caused a huge amount of damage. So that was hilarious to laugh about with how much damage they caused. Moving on backing up to the points itself. Allies have favorable trade. Let me come over here for a visual reference. The final points that we agreed are likely are what are going to be. Allies will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. This should be 7 points. Very likely, possibly minor cities 3, while the Central Powers, because of because of the territories that will be available to the Soviets, because the Central Powers did not take these territories, these will flip to whites, because we have agreed that the revolution will happen the following round, regardless, absolutely for sure. And the Central Powers will receive the fate of Russia, because even if they get Stonewall over here and Japan has been kept out, by the way, look at how crazy Japan is. This is insane. Because Japan has been left out for that long, it prevents them to really prevents them from really getting over here in time to do the damage that they need to do. They'd only be able to help out in pretty much in this region here, and wouldn't be able to get a final push in yonder past the Urals. So very likely the Soviets will be able to take these territories, and while keeping the whites at bay, and then they would have the most. So more than likely they would get the fate of Russia point. So that's how we kind of decided that one, or decided both of those rather. Very likely that the Austrians will hang on to the Balkans, and the Central Powers will have the Black Sea, because Caucasus will also go to the whites, so that the Allies will not be able to come up here. More likely than not, they will not be able to come up here. Most likely they will not be able to come up here to take these territories up here, and probably Central Powers will probably be able to hold out enough by one, I would imagine. So very likely they would get the Black Sea, and therefore, and because they have the Balkans, they'll have Belgrade. Allied powers, like I said, will have Western Front, favorable trade. Definitely going to get the Africa point. Very likely, I would say, to get the Middle East oil point. The China point is going in their favor. Pacific colonies, they will have that in a moment. They're very likely to get Empire, and it's possible, very possible, that they will get the minor cities point here. They have to take Palestine, Hijaz, I'm probably mispronouncing it, and Mesopotamia. They have two of them, but they need to get Palestine and Palestine. Palestine is a fortificated beast right here. Yeah, that's quite a bit of infantry that I'm knocking over. Anyway, doesn't matter too much. We're packing this game away. So anyway, that about does it there. In China, Mueller Time did an excellent job playing the Empire of China. I was the Republic of China, and rather than attacking me, he just backed up into two different forces, and that just made it extremely difficult to make any progress against him, and it was a very stalemated war. But he kind of forced me to have to attack something, and then the stack that he had here, I did not obliterate it enough, and he just has backed it up further, and it's just not something that I'm going to be able to overtake, which is a very different strategy from the normal way, not normal, but the usual way that we see this being played. So anyway, that was a doozy. We have called it, and we the creators have conceded to a team of pros who have played Kings and Kaisers 2 times in 2 days? Yeah, 2 days. 2 days, yeah. An impressive marathon of gaming. So stay tuned for the next Kings and Kaisers videos.